What's up, world? It's your boy, Coach EV, aka EV the Geeker, and welcome to another episode of Talking Hoops in the SIP Live. That's right, Talking Hoops in the SIP Live. So we're excited to have you on tonight. Make sure before we get going that you share, that you like, that you subscribe. All of those good things. It's very important. Thank you for getting our subscribers over almost close to 1,800 subscribers. We love to get to 2,000 here before the summertime. You know, here in the next week or so. Let's go and pop the 2,000 deal. So you know, we gave out a T-shirt for 1,000 subscriber. Obviously, we're gonna give out another T-shirt. We might, who knows, we could do something else. But anyway, I'd like to welcome in my guy, Cordarius Jones from DC Bucks, and the easy one, Eddie Young from Mississippi Play Sports. What's up, fellas?
What's going on, brother? How you doing? What's up? What's up, Cord?
What's up, Coach? What's up, y'all? What's up, Ed?
Y'all see Cord here shortly. Y'all hear his voice. But you can't see him, and that's okay. So here's the thing. I want to say before we get going, I want to say, you know, as we say always.
Before we get going, since I'm the best looking guy on the show, is there any way we can make your face disappear too? Just like a black screen where we can't see you, only we can hear your voice coming out the deep dark shadow or something. Is there you got that functionality we can do, brother?
No, we don't have that one. Yeah, I do. It says stop video, and I can definitely do that. So you can have the complete force. So at the end of the day, your head takes up the whole screen anyway. So we definitely can do that. But before we get going, we'd like to just let everyone know today's show is sponsored by Tatum & Wade Law Firm, located right here at 124 East Main Street in Jackson, Mississippi. Tatum & Wade are serious lawyers who get serious results. You know what I say? If you want to get picked, you need to go to Tatum & Wade. And so again, thanks Tatum & Wade for always wanting to help out in this community. Today we got an explosive show. Really excited about it. Shoes and Talante should be coming on later. I'm not sure. You know, we have some other people to be coming on. Make sure if you're on the live chat, say hello. Live chat. If you want to come on and make some comments, feel free to inbox me on Twitter, and I might send you a link. Just depends. If you want to be a part of this, show tonight, or text me on my phone if you got my number. So anyway, today's show, we're going to be talking about several things, parents' behavior at AAU games, some of the AAU games that we saw last week at Mal Mundy's Hoop Fest tour. We're going to talk about Cord and Eddie's upcoming AAU events this weekend. And so we're going to spend a lot of time with AAU, but we also want to spend some time with about some local coaches and local colleges within the state of Mississippi. So we want to spend some time, kind of recap their year, and also talk about some of the coaches, talk about them going forward on the girls and boys side, and some of the recruits they picked up. And we're just going to talk a little bit about them. And any of you coaches are watching, if there's anything that you want us to actually mention, make sure you text us, those who have our numbers. And I'm sure you have Eddie's number. Some of you have mine. If you're watching the show and you want to mention anybody in particular, Jones Junior College, #1 team in the country, just got through playing in the national tournament along with Holmes on the men's side. And so we'll jump right in there. Jones Junior College on the women's side, Missy Bilderback and crew, Lauren Pittman and Devin Cooper and company lost a tough one in the first round, down all game. I know, Eddie, you watched the game, down 17, battled back to be up 1 with 29 seconds left, ended up losing a close ball game, ending their magical season at 20-1. Very good team. I know it hurts. They had a great season. They're going to have plenty of girls go on to play at the next level. Some of those girls are going to be back. Had a few injuries at the end. So Eddie, talk to us a little bit about Jones Junior College and what you saw at the game. They completely dominated Mississippi, and how they went out on the road and fared.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where I've always said this for years. The NCAA tournament or JUCO national tournament, oftentimes the best team doesn't win. You got to have everything clicking on all cylinders. And for Jones, they just got off to a slow start. I think they shot 20-something% in the first half. Went down. They made a run, kind of closed the gap, got it to about 10 at halftime, and just could not overcome that. I mean, they actually late in the game was able to come back and take a 1-point lead. That might have been their only lead of the game late in the game, and then in the end, just couldn't pull it off. So, but again, like you say, shout out to Missy and Lauren Pittman and Devin. I think they have really done a tremendous job with putting Mississippi on the map, and they're a national powerhouse. Unfortunately, I know they didn't get the results that they wanted and the results that we wanted them to get, but I thought they did a great job, man. The Western Michigan, I think, was the team that they played. Just to me, man, just gave them a lot of fits with a lot of their small guards. Of course, unfortunately, Jones lost the number 2 ranked JUCO prospect in the country, and Jayla Alexander right before the tournament. So that's a huge loss too. When you're losing, arguably one of the top recruits in the country as well to an ACL injury, and not to make any excuses or anything like that. But, just even having her would have definitely been a big asset and a big help. But overall, I thought that they did show some resilience, and they fought back and did what we thought they were going to do. When I talked with you at halftime of the game, EVU was like, you knew they were down pretty big, and you and I think I told you it was 10 at half, and you said, oh, well, that's fine. You almost just like it didn't even, down 10, they go come back and win. And that's what I thought too. I'm like, down 10, slow start, they go come back and win that game. But again, like I say, when it's one and done, anybody can beat you, and it was just some great. That whole entire tournament yesterday just had a lot of really good teams and a lot of good good competition. So for me, I'll say this before we pass the ball to you guys. I just want to say Coach Bilderback has done a tremendous job with promoting Mississippi kids and putting us on a national level. Just what she's done with that program has just been unbelievable. So there's nothing to hang their heads about. I know that that's a huge thing for them. They wanted to win that national championship, and that was something that she had on her bucket list. But I'm just going to say, even beyond that, she has done, in my opinion, everything that you can think of in terms of getting kids to the next level, getting the Power 5 kids, getting the D majors, the kids graduate, go on to to the next level and do a great job. I think it's time for Missy to go on D1. I know she had a lot of interest and actually had the Northwestern job last year and kind of came back home, and but I think, in my opinion, I think it's time for her to go ahead and take that next step. I think she should be coded as one of the most sought after JUCO coaches, and she would do I think her and her staff would do a phenomenal job at the next level. So I'm just curious to see her next chapter and where they're going to go from here. So I'll just shut up and pass the mic to you guys and let y'all. I don't know, Cord, if you watched it online or not on the live stream, but they had that out there yesterday. Did you get a chance to see any of the game, Cord?
No, I didn't get the chance to see the game. I talked to Coach Bilderback last week before they headed up there, just congratulating her about, showing up for Mississippi so big, getting the number 1 seed. And we had a good conversation and just talking about who they was playing. She was really scouting a couple teams in they pool. I mean, in they, on the side of their bracket or whatever. So we just chopping it up about that. I definitely thought they was gonna make a deep run, but hey, it gets scary when you're undefeated in that time of the year where anything can happen. So, but congratulate them having a great season, being number one in the country for a good bit of the season.
No doubt, in this, unfortunately, with like you said, Eddie, you put it perfectly. Sometimes the best team doesn't always win. And in watching Jones play twice this year, it was no question they were one of the top teams in the country. There's no doubt in my mind with freshman Ja'Kayla Johnson, Deja Bradford, and the rest of the crew that they had, and missing a big piece like Jayla Alexander. You talk about Deja Bradford, Ja'Kayla Johnson, and Jayla Alexander, which you consider the big three. That's like, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant, so you lose one of those three, that team will be affected. And so as crazy as it may sound, Jones, that just lets you know how good they were in the state of Mississippi, that they didn't even, Jayla didn't even play very much, and they still went 20-0 and just dominated the state. And so that's a test to their coaching and a test to their talent. But I would be remiss, and again, live check, please jump on and say hello to us as we welcome in Tricky. What up, Tricky?
What's up, man?
Tricky Jackson. But I would be remiss if we as we continue to dive into the women's stay right in the women's game. I would be remiss if we did not mention the remarkable, phenomenal job that Stephanie Murphy did at Coahoma Community College. And to be honest with you, and this is going to sound crazy to some people, arguably a better job, as good a job as Jones. And I say that because Stephanie had so much, and me being from Clarksdale, if you're not from Clarksdale, you don't understand this. So it's going to be hard for you to understand this. Coahoma Community College is probably one of the worst jobs as far as considered. Let me make that, it's important. Considered by everybody in the state to be the worst job in the state, and considered one of the worst jobs in the country as far as wins and losses goes. I remember as a kid, Coahoma football didn't win a game. They won a national record for losses. They didn't win a game in 5-6 years. And so the job that Stephanie Murphy has done in 3 years at Coahoma is a miracle. I mean, it's a miracle to have an opportunity to go in and become, no doubt, the number two. There was no doubt that Jones was number one. There was no doubt about that. But it was no doubt that Coahoma Community College Lady Tigers was number two. And my hat's off to, Stephanie Murphy.
I'm gonna say what you wanted to say, and listen, let's just keep it real, because this is what we do. What Stephanie Murphy did, no respect to Missy and that program and some of the other JUCOs that had a really good season. Coach Murphy was the coach of the year.
There's no doubt about it. No, there's no doubt about it. I've already said that on Twitter. There's no doubt in my mind. Yeah.
All right. Okay. I mean, let's just keep it real, because it ain't even close. Jones, let's not get it twisted. You win with good players, not to take, but again, they're a hard-working group at Jones. But what Stephanie Murphy basically made a cake with just I don't know what all the ingredients you need. I imagine you need cake flour, butter, eggs, and all of that. She made a cake really with not even having all the ingredients, and it turned out to be phenomenal. So it looks like what Tricky over there. What's up, Tricky, man? I didn't know we had a legend on tonight, man. Even you, all right, man. You brought a legend in here tonight, man. What's up, Tricky?
What's going on? I don't know how I got the legend moniker, but I'll take it. I'll take it.
So we also shout out to, I'm just trying to think of some other teams. East Mississippi was in that, from Mississippi. They were in that Final Four of the Region 23 championship. They had a very good year. I think that, and so I think the future is bright in the state of Mississippi on the girls' side. On the boys' side, flipping over to them, in the Region 23, we had Pearl River, Hinds, Holmes, and Northeast. And so I am kind of privy to a few of those teams. I'll talk a little bit about, we'll start with Pearl River. Pearl River has been a perennial power. They were undefeated last year and the number one team in the country. Unfortunately, They didn't get a chance to go to the national tournament because of COVID. And this year, when they got upset or beaten in the Final Four by Holmes, when they got beaten in the Final Four at home by Holmes, who ended up winning it all and going to the Region 23, they did not, because they were the 11th seed and so many people kind of lost. They didn't even get a bid to Hutch, which was, I thought, was very disappointing. I think that we should have had 2 teams in the national tournament. I thought Pearl River deserved a fact, not only just because of the team that they had, and the year that they had, but I think the NJCAA should have just considered the fact that they were number 1 last year, and they should have got in this year. You know, it's not like they didn't have the team or the talent to do it. Holmes, led by District 15 Coach of the Year, Jason Flanagan, did a phenomenal job. We call him Buck, the former Ole Miss point guard. Went out to Hutch and won the first game, knocked off defending champion Vincennes, and then lost a tough one the next night to the number 2 seed in the tournament. Got a chance to watch them play for the first time in Region 23. They had some special guards, Tally, Brandon Weatherspoon, and Caleb Higgins, who happened to be the North, I think, Player of the Year. Loved all 3 of them. They were special with a capital S. Brandon Weatherspoon really turned it on in tournament play, looking like his brothers, played. Nick and Q played at Mississippi State and were great players. And Brandon, to be honest with you, my thought process initially coming out of high school, I thought he was a mid-major player, but his tournament play, there's no question. I really believe if the high majors were out to watch him, when you look at his body, he has a high major body as a 2 guard. He has a high major stroke. I think that, it's very possible he will go high major. Although I really think, I used to be, I've changed the mindset on my thought process on high major. We can dive a little bit into that. I think you need to go where the best fit is. I think a lot of kids can play high major, but can they play high major? And what I mean by that, are they going to get minutes? Are they going to be, are they going to be successful in the sense of, are they going to get minutes for 3 years versus maybe they'll get minutes for a year or 2? You understand what I'm saying? And I think Brandon Weatherspoon, he's kind of tricky, man. He really played himself maybe into one of those high major spots, but I really think he has a better career, in my opinion, at a Southern Miss, a Virginia Commonwealth, places what I would consider 1 to 2 bid leagues. I think that he would have I think he can go in those places maybe as a freshman and get a lot of minutes. I don't know if he goes to Mississippi State as a freshman and gets a lot of minutes, but that's just my opinion. I think Caleb Higgins is a star at the low to mid-major level. I think that he's a point guard who can do a lot of different things. I loved him. He got a lot of yeah in his game. And so Holmes, I was really impressed with their team, and Flanagan does a phenomenal job. One thing about him, he's going to get them to play hard. Hinds, Northeast, Corey Wright does a great job with his team. Every year they're in the thick of things. Corey Wright is a very good coach. Northeast, can't say much about the Tigers. They had a young team. They'll be back. Jalen Rice played at, Madison Central, high flyer. I think Jalen is still developing. As he develops into, right now he's a combo guy. As he develops into a real position, and maybe when I say a real, I think he's got to tighten up his handles. Really got to be knockdown shooters. Just some things I would say Jalen has to tighten up. He was a first team all North District player. They had Ken Lewis, who transferred from Jackson State, who I think played at Olive Branch. He's a really good shooter. He can play. But I tell you, the kid that did it for me for Northeast, and he's a flat out goon. Every low major to me in the state should be all over him. Is nothing to talk about, and that's the kid from Starkville, Zeke Cook. Zeke Cook is a goon. He dominated Hinds with 14 points, 18 rebounds, and he was on his way to dominating. He really did a double-double against Holmes as well. He's undersized. If he had a jump shot, and if he could just continue to work on his skill set, man, the sky's the limit for him. If he was 6'7", he'd be a high major. There's nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
You know, he's around that 6'4", 6'5". Tricky, talk to us a little bit about Zeke. I know you got a chance to see him play.
Yeah, Zeke played for me some back in the day. Zeke is like a heat-seeking missile around that basket. And actually, he does have a nice jump shot, and a perimeter shot, but he doesn't get that many opportunities to take those shots in the game because typically he's down low, like you mentioned earlier, or he's one of those cleanup guys. Like if shots missed, he's going to find the ball and put it back in. But he actually does have a pretty well-rounded game. I think one of the things he would need to do if he's out on the perimeter a little bit more to take shots, maybe work on his handles a little bit more, if he was able to go to like a stretch 4 or 3 in the mid-majors. But that would be the thing I think would be ball handling a little bit. But he can shoot it really from anywhere on the court. You may not have gotten to see that as much throughout the year with Northeast, but he's so good around the basket. You know, I could easily see the coach saying, "This is what we want you to do," and that becomes his role. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, you know, the one thing I can say about what Cook did was he did what he played to his strength. And you said something like, I like the term you use. He was a heat-seeking missile around the basket because it is no question. The final team we want to talk about in the JUCO is Hinds Community College, led by Coach of the Year, Yusuf Fitzgerald. And, you know, people can say what they want. Yusuf Fitzgerald, the job he's done at Hinds Community College in Utica has been phenomenal. He has, when he took the job, you know, there was a lot of naysayers, didn't know if the young fella could do it. And, you know, Yusuf's been all over the country, in Chicago, Iona, IMG. He's come in, and there was never a question, could he recruit? We knew he was going to be able to recruit. The question was, let's just face it, could he coach? And the answer is yes, absolutely yes. He did a phenomenal job with, you know, he had a very talented team. Now, let's not get it twisted. So he was able to recruit some good players. He had a kid, Damaris Wash, who's a 6'4" kid from Canton, who is a stud. If he could get some other things together, you know, like his off the court and just all the stuff, just a little bit of stuff. As he matures, with maturity, there's no ceiling for him because he defends. He's 6'4", he's a goon, plays extremely hard, guards the best player 1 through 4. He had another kid. He had several long kids, 6'4", 6'5". He had an inside kid who transferred from Bethune-Cookman. Then he also had the South Player of the Year, Jordan Johnson, the point guard. Heady, steady, just got things done. He'll be a Division I player, at the low mid-major player, can shoot the basketball, run your team. He and John Newval and Peanut did a great job over at Hinds this year. So Hinds Community College. While we're staying
how many years has Coach Fitzgerald been there?
Coach has been there. Fitzgerald has been there. This is his 3rd year, and each year he has he's improved every year.
Yeah.
So
he really surprised me on how well he had Hinds together for this year. I got to see a lot of games over in that district, and Hinds really caught me by surprise. Most of the season, the battle looked like it was going to be between Northeast and Holmes. And Hinds kind of, I don't want to say necessarily came out of nowhere, but I mean, I think that they were a big surprise on how well they did this year. And that may play to why he was able to pull off that Coach of the Year award as well, because he really had those guys together this year.
Yeah, he did. He did a great job. Bit of news in the JUCO, big time move by Randy Bolden. Randy Bolden of Jones Community College men's moves over to Mississippi College, becoming the first Black coach in Mississippi College, of any sport in Mississippi College. That is a big time move for Randy Bolden. Heads off. Randy's done a great job. Won a state championship in Meridian. Every time you play against Randy Bolden, you know that you're going to be in for a dogfight. Well coached, well disciplined team, and so we are excited about Randy going up a level, up to the Division II level, and I think he'll do a good job over at Mississippi College. Him and Smiley at Jones did a great job. They always were at the top of the North Division, you know, anywhere from 1 through 4. Or, you know, right outside, maybe at 5. They did a good job over there. Anybody want to say anything about Randy going over to Jones?
Yeah, EV, that's news to me. I wasn't aware that he was the first African-American coach, man. That's big time. But you're right, Randy Bolden, known him for years. He's a fierce competitor. And I think you just hit the nail on the coffin, man. I think they're getting a true gem. He's won everywhere he's went, and super fast too, lightning quick. So it's encouraging to see how he's gonna do there. And I know his son in this tough decision with Rashad having to choose USM over going to play for his dad. So but anyway, definitely think he's gonna get that program turned around lightning quick. And he's gonna, like you say, his team's gonna play hard and fast, and they're gonna be competitive. I ain't no doubt about that. So it's good to see the coaches move on, and then it's always good. It's always good for us when our in-state coaches are able to take a step up and still be in-state, because you know you hate to lose a guy like him out of state, man, because he's done such a great job on the high school and now even the college level. So shout out to the Boldens. The Boldens are just like family to us. So, but yeah, man, that's it on Randy.
Yeah. And moving right along over into, well, you know, we'll stay at Mississippi College.
Before you do that, can I ask Cord a question real quick? Because I know we're gonna transition to the bigger schools. Cord, as far as the JUCO on the girls' side, who do you think had the best recruiting class this year, in your opinion?
My opinion, I would say it's tough. I think it's between Northwest and Kahoma with the best recruiting class in the north, and Pearl River in the south.
Pearl River in the south. I thought Colin did a real good job too.
Colin.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. Let's take them one by one if you can. Who did Northwest sign?
Northwest signed Mara Nunley, Claire Leak. I'm missing somebody. I'm missing
Hannah
really
Campbell.
good.
I think they signed
Hannah Campbell. Hannah Campbell.
Yeah.
And a guard from Pillow Academy.
And they signed a kid, I think, from Hartfield. Did they sign a girl from Hartfield?
I think from Pillow, right? Pillow Academy.
I saw Mia. You mean Mia or the other kid?
No, the other girl, not Mia.
Girl. Yeah. I think they did get the other girl too. But yeah, I mean, with Nunley, Hannah, and
Leak.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just that alone. I mean, you know. So to me, I just asked you that, Cord, because I had them number one. In terms of, to me, I think they brought in the top, you know, the top JUCO kids, especially. They just locked them all up.
We got to look at now. Hey, like now that's a great class. Love them. Love none. You know how much I love. I don't like Maura Nunley. I love Maura Nunley. I don't like Carol Leak. I love her. Hannah Campbell. You know, that's a big class. But let's go to Cahoma's class with Juicy. The two twins from
Senatobia.
The Abrams sisters, yeah.
And then I think a sleeper in that group that people don't really that fits them is Braylon Ferguson from Starkville. I thought that was a very, very good pick at 5'9", athletic, 5'9", 5'10", very athletic, you know, forward there. That was a good pickup for him. And then they picked up a young lady from Grenada, you know, as well. I don't know much about the girl from Grenada. So that's a formidable class as well, you know, up north there.
Do you know what position that the Braylon Ferguson plays?
Huh?
Do you know what position she plays?
She's four.
She's number 20.
She plays the 4.
Yeah, her and they were after the girl Kima Sewell, who I really love.
She went to EMCC.
Yeah, she's going. Yep, she's going to East Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
I think Oklahoma might get. I mean, I think they're gonna be something scary with their point guard coming back. There's gonna and Janae Anderson coming off injury. They're gonna be good.
Where's Janae Anderson from, Cordarius?
Greenville.
Okay. Yeah, Kahoma got some. Kahoma's gonna be right in the mix next year. Ain't nothing to talk about. Stephanie ain't gonna be able to sneak up on nobody. So the sneaking up days are over. That ain't gonna happen. Now Kahoma, like when they used to pencil in a win at Kahoma, how coaches do this. Coaches look at their schedule and say, man, I should be able to go 13-8. We got 2. We're gonna beat Kahoma twice. We're gonna beat such and such. We're gonna split with so and so. We're gonna lose to Jones. We ain't gonna beat Jones. Jones is always in the last 5 years. You try to trick yourself, and you try to tell yourself, well, man, you talk to your friends. Sometimes you say, man, I think we can beat Jones, and then your real friend says, come on, dog, come on now, Eddie. You can't.
Hey, I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna say something about Jones too. And we're gonna talk about it a little bit later about Tamika Reed. I think I'm just gonna say it. Y'all know I love everybody, but Eddie Young will be devil's advocate. I think Jones over recruited in certain positions this year. You're bringing in AP, which I think is a phenomenal play. We all love AP. She's
love her. Don't like her. We love her.
Love AP. Also too, I like the kid from Olive Branch that they brought in.
I do not like her at all. I love her. Brianna Black, love her. Yeah, I think she's really good.
Amaya Black.
Brianna's the younger sister. I think she may be a stud too, but Amaya Black. And then also the Mackenzie Thomas Lewis kid, who is just Jones didn't. In my opinion, I got Northwest just a little bit ahead of them, but I think Jones is right there too. And Colleen, Kirsten Ball, I think is a big pickup. Yakia Burns, I think Colleen was able to get her from the transfer that went from Vicksburg over to help me out, Evie. What's the Porter's Chapel?
I thought you. Whoa, Eddie. Let me stop you. I thought you was talking about North. Like
no. Yeah, I'm talking about overall. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Like I don't know if I got Northwest number 1 overall. Now I got them maybe like them in Kahoma right there in the time. Jones, that's a nice team right there.
Well, let's say you know how you look at the NBA draft and everybody got them picks. And you be like, what they gonna do with all them picks? Like the Boston Celtics every year. Pearl River went out there and got some solid players that's gonna come in and make an immediate impact. I think.
Who was that?
Like Pearl River. I think they went out there and just got some players that just gonna come in and fill in.
Hey, listen, Scotty Fletcher, Cordero. Scotty Fletcher is amazing. Like you never see him a whole lot, but he always just get 2 or 3 kids. Just like, man, how did Fletcher get them? Did he get them while everybody was asleep? It's amazing. I see Lauren Pittman all the time. You go see Lauren Pittman everywhere you go. When you look over one shoulder, Lauren there. When you go to another gym, hell, she done beat you to the other gym. So her and Devin, they do a great job recruiting. And then even Hope, and I know we lost Coach Williams. He's going back to coach high school, but they do you always see them out. I've always, there's a lot of JUCO coach, but I never see Scotty them out. But it's the darnest thing. He can always court.
Let's talk about the Pearl River. I think that now, me personally, I thought that I don't understand, and this is EV, and it's not for me to understand because I don't have to coach 1 second. But you got Rachel Hightower, little guard, right, from DeSoto Central. Haley Traylor, little guard. Amijah Smith, Gulfport, little guard. Jaleesa Florence, also, she's not a little guard, but she's a guard. So that's 4. Now, the good thing about it, those girls can play the point. So I guess that's good. But is there a log jam there? And then they got I thought they got Ty Raven, who's going. That's a good pickup, high energy forward for them. So they got a really good class as well. But
they got the Gabby Collier kid. They play the 2 shooter.
That's a shooter. So you got 5 guards Are they losing a lot? I mean, what's the?
I think he's losing a lot of guards. If I remember.
Yeah, he's losing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's losing a lot of guards, and then Jones was able to secure, those big three that they got.
But then they got the other girl from Laurel too, don't they?
Yeah. They got the other kid from Laurel. Yeah,
Coach play too.
The Cooley, Zoe Cooley. Yeah, so Zoe's coming over. So yeah, I mean, I think again, like I said, I'm so high on Nunley just watching her play, and then I know even you hadn't saw a lot of Hannah. I just think that those kids are just man, they're tough. And then I just think from a skill set standpoint, sometimes we're gonna talk about this with Tamika Reed a little bit later on in the show. I think Jones over recruited at some positions. I don't know what Jacqueline Johnson's gonna do. I know she's getting a lot of interest from a lot of schools, and rightfully so. Heck, she's a stud. Every day she wake up, I think she even can be a pro. I think Jayla Alexander can be a pro. Of course, Jayla's eligibility may be up. I'm not sure on that, but Olivia Knight from Pearl, who's coming over from UNA, a D1 bounce back. So a lot like Tamika Reed. Huh?
He's going to Jones too?
Yeah, Olivia Knight has left UNA back in the winter, like November or December, I think. So
she's already at Jones.
So okay. I mean, again, like you say, that's a good problem to have as a coach. How do you sort all of that out? And we're gonna talk about Tamika Reed sorting all that out. I can't wait to get to that in a little bit. But I just think that you get the best players. It's work for them. And who am I to question anything that Missy and Lauren and Devin doing, because they're successful and definitely have done a great job. But I'm just curious to see how all that's going to work out and figure all of that out, man. I know we didn't want to take up too much time on the JUCOs. I know we got so much to talk about tonight, but that was just intriguing. I wanted to get Cordarius' opinion on that.
I'm gonna say another thing about the Pearl River thing.
Let me ask you a quick question, Eddie, based on something you just said. You just said something.
Tricky, hold that question real quick. Cordarius, you were saying something, and then we'll get to you, Tricky.
Okay. I'm gonna say another thing about the Pearl River thing. They did get 2 little guards. The one girl from Gulfport, Haley. I think Haley can guard on some twos. And JUCO, I'm not saying she got to learn how to play the point. True or no, but I think he got a lot of pieces. If he can really coach, it's gonna be dangerous. They can get after it on defense. A lot of them players, they can get after it. So, but I like Eddie said, I just want to say, them three players they bring in, Nunley, Leak, and Hannah Kelman, that's some skilled kids, and they fit in with Hinds' system. They shoot the three. He want them handling the ball and running the flow. It's gonna be nasty.
Go ahead, Tricky.
All right, I'm gonna ask you a question, Eddie. But before I do that, I'm gonna make a comment. I'm gonna say I think we're starting to see a comeback with small guards, with exception of maybe on the D1 level, but I think maybe with the some of these guys college level and pro level, we're starting to see an emergence of small guards coming back. What I was gonna say, you mentioned something about getting the best players, and I don't want to get too far off topic, but to a certain degree, don't you think there's something to be said about still having, those players that fill certain roles? Like, if you got all the best players, sometimes, those best players may not fit well in a certain type of system, or, you have to worry about everybody getting minutes and touches, to be able to score. So I guess I'm throwing that out there. Do we really think that that's necessarily always the best recruiting method, is going for the best players, or should it be kind of a mix?
Well, I think, again, like I said, speaking in particular with Jones, I'm not going to question anything that they've done. They're the #1 program in the country. But I just think sometimes when you have a situation, when you're trying to keep, because there's only one basketball, oftentimes some of why we're seeing so much turnover in the transfer portal and things of that nature is because kids aren't getting the playing time. And it's tough. I always say it to me, that 8th and 9th person is starting to, on that bench is the person who's starting to kind of, be, shrugging the shoulders, not. And then once you get to that 10th, 11th, 12th person, it's just hard to it's just hard to satisfy that. Me and Coach Brittany Young, talked about that a while back, man. Sometimes, her philosophy before she left Mississippi State was, the high majors are good, the Power 5 kids are good, but you know what? You got to get kids that fit your system. So I think it's, to answer your question, Coach Jackson, I think it's to each his own. There are some times when there's a high-level kid there that you just got to take, even if you've over-recruited in that position. I think you still got to take the best players sometimes. And I know all these college coaches got their own philosophy. When I talk to them, they say, hey, Coach Young, my 22 class, I need a stretch forward that's 6'2" that can do this. And I know they're real detailed on that. But sometimes, like I said, I think in certain situations, you got to take that best player. But there are situations where every kid don't fit your system. So I think it's a double-edged sword. And a lot of times you don't know. Sometimes, I've seen a lot of people tricky that just grab a bunch of kids and throw it up against the wall and see what stick, you know what I'm saying? So, but in the end, I think you just had to find that niche for what works for you. Even with me and Cordarius, I don't know about Cordarius, but heck, I done got 30 calls in the last 2 weeks and emails about trying to join our program. And of course, I want to be loyal to the kids that I've recruited and kids that have been with me. And there's some kids that I probably could take, but by the same token, I don't want to mess up chemistry and things like that. So there's just a lot of different factors into that decision. But I do think, as far as Jones in particular, Coach, I think that they have. I think that they're really, really guard heavy, and that may be maybe something that they want to do. And I'll say this too. Tricky, the small guards is what gave Jones fits yesterday too. So you're right about the small. I mean, them little guards gave Jones a handful. So I think you're right when you see the Deshaun Ruffins of the world at 5. They list Deshaun 5'9", 5. Deshaun is 5'7". I'm 5'7", and him and I look eye to eye. So he's a 5'7" kid, and there ain't 20 kids in the country better than him. I think he's a future NBA player. So.
Often falls in that category. He's about 5'10", I think.
Yeah,
he
is. Yeah. Who? Hubbard.
Josh Hubbard.
Josh Hubbard.
Right. Eddie, I want stop the narrative, buddy. Deshaun's taller than you. You're a midget, and you're not going to try to get that. You're trying to attach yourself to somebody, and you're trying to get this kid to be 5'7". No, I'm not going to let you do that. You're not going to attach me and Deshaun the same height, and you almost like you and him. Like the next thing you're going to be saying, y'all can play the same. Although, Eddie, I will say this. I want to say this publicly to everybody, because I know y'all look at me and be like, this dude looked like an offensive guard. Although I was a point guard. I'm an offensive guard now. But Eddie Young, Corey, the dude can play. And I done said that before. And he impressed the mess out of me one day. I was like, oh, my God. Went between his leg, behind his back. I mean, can shoot that thing. He don't shoot as good as me, but he can really shoot it. I mean, but I was impressed, Tricky. I ain't gonna front. The dude, he looked like when you look at him, you're like, man, look at this bald-headed, big head, just goofy looking dude. But then when he get on the court, it was like the dude got rhythm. I mean, yeah, he can play. So, Eddie, that's your shine for the night. I know you're excited. I mean, I acknowledge you publicly. You can play, so, but don't ever put yourself in the same breath. Don't put your name along Deshaun Ruffin ever again.
I would have gave Deshaun Ruffin fist back in the day. These new age players don't know how to play the game. But anyway, that's a whole nother subject. But anyway, hey, look, Cordarius, I'm glad you got a laugh at the comedian, but I'm coming back at him a little bit later. You already know that.
Well, all right. Well, moving right along, I don't know, Shoe's going to be back in. We're going to get his input on some JUCO, but we'll move right on. We're going to rush through. I mean, we'll go to our don't know anything about Belhaven girls or boys this year. Want to shoot over to Millsaps Division III here locally here in Jackson. Coached by Justin LeBlanc. They had a great year this year. They lost in the finals of the Division III tournament. I think I know they were either in the Final Four of the tournament. They had a very good year. Justin's a coach of the year type guy. It's not going to be long. He'll be coaching somewhere else. He's already had some interviews at Division I's in the past. He was a finalist for the ULM. He was in that top 3 for the ULM job a couple of years ago. LeBlanc does a great job over there. And now they have Michael Prather on the men's side, who replaced Jimmy Smith, who actually, I got to give a shout out to Jimmy. He went out to Trinity, Texas, and lost in the championship game out there. He was coach of the year. Shout out to my boy Jimmy Smith. And he took the guy, oh God, I can't think of the kid's name, from Millsaps, and he was the player of the year out there. So, but Michael Prather is going to do a great job. He's a great coach over at Millsaps on the boys' side. Eddie, I'll let you talk a little bit about Justin, because I know that's your guy.
Yeah, LeBlanc's, man, he definitely recruits out of our program, and that's probably why he's so doggone successful.
Good, thank you. All right, now moving on. No, go ahead.
Hey, look, Tricky, that's probably why he's so successful. But anyway, no, he's done a tremendous job, man, and brought in Caitlin. Caitlin is a really, really hard worker. I know she spent some time at LSU, and she's on staff with them, and they just really work really hard, man. And I think they had the highest ranking that the school has ever had, national ranking this year. I think they jumped up in the top 5. So it's always rewarding when the Mississippi teams represent really well. And like I say, fell a little bit short, but I think that you said it best, EV. We won't have him in state much longer. I know he's got some Louisiana ties, and I know he interviewed for the ULM job, like you said, and some other jobs that him and I discussed last year, and he's got some interest, because he's a great coach. So Millsaps is going to be hard to hold on to him. I think he's ready to take that next step and next phase in his career and go off and do some really good things. So, but no, they are a great program. Don't know a whole lot about Belhaven. I didn't follow Tougaloo a whole lot this year with Coach Barnes. I know him and I've had a couple of conversations, but didn't get a chance to follow a whole lot of Tougaloo. And then I guess that was it. We were talking about Belhaven, Tougaloo, and who else did you mention, Coach?
Well, we're going to mention Mississippi College on the girls' side. Greg Long, this is his first year. Didn't have the greatest record. Jury's still out with Greg and Maggie Prophet. They do a good job recruiting. They have 6 freshmen coming in. They have Allie Alford from North Delta. They have Sky Vaughn. They have Maya Bobo, just to name a few of those kids, and those are pretty good players. So I know they got some transfers.
Now, Allie Alford ain't no pretty good player. Allie Alford is a darn good player, EV. I mean, he got a steal.
I don't like Allie Alford. I love her. I love Allie Alford. So, I'm an Allie. They also have Kaylee Powell from Pillow coming in. And
did you say Sky Vaughn too from Punta?
Yep. Yeah. And Maya Bobo from South Tillo.
Yep.
I don't know the other 2, but I know that they'll be in transition.
Yeah, JUCO. Well, yeah, D2 transfer from Kayla Bradley that was at Northwest, was from Memphis, coming back. I think she played with him at Monticello.
Arkansas Monticello, yeah. I saw that.
Yeah, they did a great job recruiting. I thought they did. I thought they shored up some really good recruits. Like I said, jury's still out to see how he's going to be able to manage that talent over the next couple of years, and we definitely wish them well. So,
moving right along, let's move into the Division I ranks. We'll start with Mississippi Valley on the girls' side. Eddie, talk to us about Ashley Walker Johnson. I know they've had some challenges over the years, and just trying to catch up. I know they didn't win but 2 games this past year, and I think that the future is looking up, though. I think they got some good recruits coming in, and I think Ashley Walker Johnson, we definitely believe and praying that she can turn that around. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, she's a friend of mine. She's a phenomenal person, and I think she's a darn good basketball coach. I've sat in her practices, and I got a chance to see her coach, man. She does a great job. I think she's one, in a situation, like you said, with Kahoma, oftentimes, she doesn't have the luxury that Jackson State has in terms of facilities and that type of thing. So with those objectives, sometimes it's a little bit tough. You get really close to getting certain kids, and the kids are going to go for the bigger city. Jackson State is an inner city, and I'm just not saying Jackson State in general. I'm just using that as an example because I know a lot of our in-state kids are better in-state kids the last few years. Jackson State, Tamika Reed has pretty much shored up a lot of the better players, and numerous of Dandy Dozens and things like that. So, but no, I think Ash, I've seen her up close and personal. She does a phenomenal job. I know that she's on the hot seat this season, and that type of thing. But I think she'll get that program turned around. Glad to see her being able to be retained this year, and I'm hoping that I'm wishing her nothing but the most success, and anything that I can do. And Cordarius and some of the AAU in-state guys, man, we definitely need to be supporting that, because I think, oftentimes what ends up happening, a lot of times, we talked on the last show about Coach K, who, started off 0 and, first 3 or 4 seasons. I think it takes about 4 or 5 seasons to get it done. And she's right in that, realm where, she's kind of got over the, she's starting to get her recruits in. So this particular year is in most people's eyes, is probably a do or die season for her at Valley. So we're hoping that, like I say, she can get that thing turned around and be able to win some games and represent in that conference. So I know it's a tough conference, EV. I think we talked about the Alabama States of the world retaining, pretty much everybody. And they got a lot of talent at Alabama State, man. Jackson State has a lot of.
You go on that, Eddie. Talk to us a little bit about Alcorn as well. Then we're going to jump right into Jackson State.
Yeah, Nate, first year, I don't know what their record was. I don't have it right in front of me, but I thought that and let me just say this too, going back to Ashley, they beat ULM and beat Northwestern State in the non-conference, man, and jumped out and was really impressive. So I was like, wow, I think you and I talked about it early in the season. Winning those 2 games was impressive, and then just kind of got in conference play. And before I get into that, Evie, I do want to say this. I've won a lot of games over the years as a coach, but last year was really tough for me, tricky. I've never lost. I've never went to AAU tournament and didn't win a game. We lost about 11 or 12 games in a row. And I'll just say this for a lot of the coaches who, and we all can share this. EV ain't never won anything a day in his life, so he wouldn't know what it's like to be a winner and actually being a loser. Because before then, I won 100 games in 3 years. So, but it's a 2-game losing streak can go to a 5-game losing streak.
We're not talking about, like on our PlayStation. We're not counting those games. But anyway, you want to count your PlayStation win. But anyway,
Hey, go do your go do your homework on me, buddy. I'm the most last 5 years. Ain't nobody won more games on the circuit like I have. But back to our regular schedule program. Last year was a tough season for us. And so tricky. Corey, I went on a 7, 8, 9, 10. Before you know it, I was 10 losses in a row. And the great Brooks Donald, one of my great friends, called and said, "Hey, coach, man," she was just so encouraging to me. But man, I was struggling. I never lost 10, 11 games in a row. And that can happen so quick. And then you got your coaches who are questioning, your parents that are questioning you. And then also the kids. So it's a real slippery slope when you go from a 5 to 10 to 15 game losing streak, and it can happen before you know it. So I just want to share that. But as far as Coach Kilbert at Alcorn State, I think Coach Robinson is doing a great job trying to get out there and recruit, man. I know he's been the head coach in that conference before, Coach Evan Robinson. And, I think the biggest thing for them is just trying to get, again, the same situation that I think, Ashley is in, is just trying to get those in-state kids. Jackson State has won with getting the best in-state kids. If you looked at their roster, they don't have a whole lot of out-of-state kids, but they, there's a lot of talent here in Mississippi. And I think you got to get a core of those kids in-state who ain't gonna leave home because they already home and that type of thing. So, but I think Kilbert is on the right path. I think they're trying to do it the right way. And I think that they will definitely get that program turned around and get back to their winning ways as well. So, that's pretty much all I had on the Lady Braves.
Well, let's get to the Jackson State Tigers, the number 1 team in the SWAC. Is no doubt about it. And arguably they have picked up some absolute stars. They can play, they are going to be a tough out in the SWAC. They are absolutely loaded, like a McAllister's loaded. vegetable potato. I mean, they have everything you want. They got size, they got shooting, they got athletic athletes, point guards out of the like zoo. They got the seven of the top freshmen, 7 freshmen coming in. At my last count, they had 18 players, and I'm just trying to figure out how that's going to work. But they got, again, it is what you call a great problem to have. And Tamika Reed is no doubt one of the best coaches in America. You can't take anything from her. She's won at the JUCO level. She took Hinds where they wasn't winning there. She won there. She's come to Jackson State, turned the program around, 2 championships. Hats off to Tamika Reed. Hats off to LaShonda Cousin, Juanita Ward, and Richard Bradley. Phenomenal staff, and even the guys that were before them that have moved on. They've done a great job over at Jackson State. Talk to me, Eddie Young, about how they're going to make this happen, because you, with your bald head, with your big head and your little brain, I think that you can figure this out. Sometimes it works in reverse. So let us know how Jackson State's going to do that.
I got a solution for Tamika Reed. Let's cut the team in half. Let's have a Jackson State A and a Jackson State B, and I think both teams could compete for the SWAC. For the SWAC title. I think she's got that much. I'm saying that facetiously, but I think she's got that much talent in that conference. Man, look, again, as I said with Jones, that's a good problem to have. How they go figure that out, I have no idea. But I do know this: you're bringing in the ESPN top 100 recruit in Sequoia Allman, who I think that she's gotta hit the court next year. I mean, would you agree with that, Corderis? I mean, I don't think she was brought in to sit on the bench. That's just personal opinion of mine.
She gonna hit the court. I think Rogan is really good. But I think Sequoia is a ready-made point guard for the league, like true point guard that really can run a team.
So you got that situation, and then you've got Covington from East Central, who's there, who had some really good games for him this year, and Kashana Luckett, Kashana's been getting minutes since her freshman year. So definitely in that backcourt, you got those 4 kids, and then heck, you're bringing in the Dandy Dozens, Ariana Hunter, who is just a bucket every day she wake up. My goodness, that kid can roll out of the bed and get you 30. Melanie Timms is a superstar freshman that you're bringing in, and then you're returning, Shamaya Carruthers, Tilly Bowler. So there's a lot. It's interesting to see. I'm hoping they can hold it all together. But that would be my solution. Figure out a way, contact the NCAA and figure out a way to be able to split that team into 2 and see if Jackson State can't have a Jackson State A and a Jackson State B and just have 2 teams, man. So, but anyway.
Eddie, that might not be a bad solution, because you didn't even talk about the young lady that transferred, the 6'1", small forward / forward, transferred from Minnesota. You just had a girl that transferred from Houston who averaged 10 points. You mentioned Sequoia Allman, who I think is a star, who, had all type of, she had at one point had Ole Miss, she had Kansas, she had all type of people. She's a 4-star player. And so Melanie Timms, Ariana Hunter, people like that, I wouldn't bet against. Ariana Hunter can score with the best of them. Melanie Timms is as tough as they come. She just refuses to lose. She refuses to die. She's one of them people that just, you gotta just, you're gonna have to do something to her to get her to stop coming at you. So she's tough. Then you got, now you talk about, you got Rogan, who's the reigning player of the year. She's back. You got Amisha Williams, who's the defensive player of the year and arguably the player of the year in the conference as well. So, I mean, it's just, they got a lot, and they just have a lot. They are arguably behind, I don't know what Southern Miss has, so I can't talk about Southern Miss, but arguably behind Ole Miss and Mississippi State, Jackson State might be the 3rd best team in the state. Would you agree with that?
I would. Yeah, I definitely would. I mean, with the pieces that they have, and then if they're going to be able to retain everybody, see what the thing with them is that it ain't so much what happened this year, and even not what's going to happen next year. 2 years from now, I don't think there's going to be a team that want to play them in non-conference. Like you ain't scheduling Jackson State in your non-conference. Even though it's a money game, you probably gonna get beat in the next couple of years. They just got too much talent and too much steam. And I'll just say this too. The next question is, how do you keep Tamika Reed if you're Jackson State? I mean, I know she's got the extension and
There's
all of
no
that.
doubt about it. Tamika Reed, like I'm just gonna go ahead and say it, she's gonna be one of the most sought after coaches here very shortly, if not already. You know, her, when you look at coaches in this state that are gonna be sought after, there's three key team coaches that come to mind: Tamika Reed, Stephanie Murphy, and Missy Bilderback, in whatever order you want. Miss Missy Bilderback will be a Division I coach shortly. I believe Stephanie Murphy will be a Division I coach soon, and I believe Tamika Reed will go to the next level. Then I think also you're going to have Juanita Ward stepping into a Division I head coaching role, and I think the unsung hero of that staff, the person, I'm just going to say it, the secret weapon. I got a chance to meet this young lady years ago when she just finished, is LaShonda Cousin. I'm telling you right now, LaShonda Cousin is a gem. She is special with a capital S. I don't like her. I love her, you know, and she does a very, very good job, I think, for Jackson State. Moving right along, let's go right into, you know, I don't have much about Southern Miss. I don't know if you know much about Southern Miss. Our hats off to Joyce McNillis as she deals with her cancer. We just praying and believing God that she will be healed. We believe in healing here at the Geeker Report. We believe that by his stripes we are healed. And so we speak healing over Joyce McNellis as she deals with cancer. And so, but as far as her team goes, I don't have a lot of information. Eddie, what do you have to say?
Well, I think they got a great staff down there, man. You know, Patosha Jeffrey has a lot of ties coming from the AAU ranks, so I know she's connected to several AAU clubs. I think that's always a benefit. It's no secret if you got connection with some of the top AAU programs, you are going to be able to get recruits. Heck, that's why Shonda Cousins has got so many people at Jackson State. I mean, she's in tune with the AAU people, and Patosha Jeffrey is as well. So,
and we love Stephanie Stogland Reed.
Yeah, absolutely. She's another coach that I think I don't see how USM is going to be able to keep her very long. I think she's a no-brainer head coach in the next year or two. I just think she's got a lot of knowledge about the game and a lot of aware. Yeah. So I think USM has just kind of been average. I mean, I wish I could say more, but they just been average to above average in that conference, and I'm just hoping that they can take the next step and be a contender in that conference and start to win that conference. Patosha did share some great news with me last week, man, and I know this is something Cord and I are going to talk about on the AAU segment, but the college coaches are being able to come out in July, so she's the first one to break that news to me, so I'm excited about that, to see them on the sideline, because I know that's a whole different subject. I don't want to get off topic, but watching this stuff live stream versus being up close and personal is a totally different thing. But again, I think USM, McNellis is a legend, no doubt about it. Has done it her way. I don't know. I hate to say average or above average, but that's kind of where they've been at, in my opinion. Wouldn't you agree? The last several years, I just think that they've got to be able to get that superstar player, somebody that just can go and get a bucket when you need a bucket, that type of kid. I think they've had some great players over the last couple of years, but just being able to get, and I think they've done a great job recruiting. I just think that they're just real close to just taking that next step, and just for whatever reason hadn't been able to last few years been able to play at that level that I know that they would want to play at. So but no, a great staff there. And then who else did we miss on the I guess that's all the in-state besides before we got to Ole Miss and Mississippi State. I think that was
they did want to mention, a couple people on the chat said, don't forget about Kennedy Ransom, your number one player coming from Mississippi Play Sports.
Absolutely.
And Alexis Roberts, also two big girls freshmen that's coming in for Jackson State as well. And then also Aaliyah Mosley from Madison Central. So they have a star-studded freshman class, along with Jalea Hickman from Newton. I think we mentioned all 7 of the girls.
And and for clarity, you're talking about Jackson State, not USM, for people that may not
right,
know that.
Jackson State. We just kind of went backwards there. All right, let's start with Mississippi State, and then we'll end with Ole Miss. Mississippi State, Nikki McCray coming in, 5-star legend herself. She's no question a 5-star Olympian, all of that. Had a very, very tough year. People at Mississippi Starkville, I think they're I just want to say this. I think their expectations were, let me, how do I want to say it? I can understand I always say this, your level of disappointment is based on your level of expectation. So we always try to tell people, manage your expectations. And I don't think that the fans, I don't think the administration managed their expectations with Mississippi State this year, because they just automatically assumed that because Vic Schaefer had them one place, that Nikki McCray was going to come in and keep them at that same place. Now you can say, Evie, why shouldn't they have that? Well, in my opinion, I think you do have to give a coach an opportunity to put their stamp on the program. And I think that personally, that's an adjustment period. I think that they jumped the gun. I'm just going to say it. I was very, I know that they lost two assistants. One, Brittany Young, got a new job. And obviously, I'm very disappointed about my young guy, Scepter Brownlee, who I know does a phenomenal job and who's been with Nikki for a long time. I was sad to see him leave the staff. And I think that was very unfortunate. Although they, did pick up 2, good new people, Wes Moore from Michigan and the young lady from Arizona. But I just personally feel that the fans and the administration did not manage their expectations with Mississippi State. Now, you may disagree with me, Eddie, and you may disagree with me too, Tricky, being living in Starkville, but that's my thought. I think Nikki has to get a chance to come in, put her stamp on the team, and give her that chance.
Well, let me say this, so people can understand this. Nikki McCray's job is the hardest job of any coach in the state of Mississippi by far. When Coach Yo took over Ole Miss, they were a struggling program. So the expectations is not the same. When Tamika Reed took over Jackson State, they were in a rebuilding process. Expectations ain't the same. When Ashley took over Mississippi Valley State, when Nate took over Alcorn, you understand what I'm saying? Those type of situations don't have the same pressure. There's very few times when a top 5 program, I think when Vic Schaefer left Mississippi State, you could debate that program was top 5 in the country. If you would agree.
Top 10. Let's just stay top 10 and keep it moving.
Okay, so top 10. So top 10 program. Very seldom do you see a top 10 program coach leave, right? So when Nikki took that job, Coach McCray was in a situation where she was picking up that's a different type of pressure in my opinion, because now you're expected to win right away, and anything less than a Final Four is a bad season, right? Where in most cases, if you 500, if you're taking over a new job, then that's good. So she was beyond 500, I believe. And so I think, again, she played with a lot of Vic Schaefer's recruits. I'm really good friends with Jemiah Mingo Young, one of her players that played with her last year. I'm really good friends with her dad. Him and I actually host a couple of tournaments together. He assists me with some events in Louisiana. And we're speaking with her dad. He had nothing but great things to say. Of course, she was in the transfer portal, and she's going to Alabama, University of Alabama. Him and I talked about that a couple of weeks ago. My guy Mark, shout out to Mark. But nothing but great things to say. And so there's a perception too when you see 7 or 8 kids, I think is what Mississippi State had in the portal, or maybe 9. I'm not sure. I know it was a lot, but 8 or 9 kids in the portal is there's perception. Oh man, they can't play for Nikki, or Nikki's this, or it's so many. So you hear all of this. You hear all of the gossip. When the true thing is, a lot of those kids really like playing for her, and every situation. When if I'm not on this show next year, it ain't because me and Evie had a falling out. Maybe I'm doing some other stuff. You understand what I'm saying? So oftentimes when people leave, it ain't always a bad situation. So I just want to get that out there for clarity that, you know, a lot of people are saying, well, those kids could. No, it ain't like that. I talked to a couple of people who said that they really enjoyed playing for, and I know the Mathara kid, her AAU coach, and I talked, and I know that she left and went back to play with Vic Schaefer in Texas. So because that's who recruited her, and a lot of these kids wasn't recruited by Nikki. So I just think we got to be patient. Give her the opportunity to do her thing. She's a winner, so it ain't no doubt she's gonna be a winner. Again, I just think her pressure is a lot different. And Coach Augustine and I had a really good conversation. She's the new coach from Arizona. Obviously, all you guys know, Arizona made it to the national championship and did a phenomenal job. And so, you know, she shared with me that they're hitting the ground running. They're really, really trying to get this thing turned around. They're gonna really work hard. Seems like a really, really good young lady, and of course she's coming from a lot of success there. So I have all the confidence in the world. Again, like you said, hate to lose Brittany Young, who's a stud. You know, and I don't know Scepter. I know that's your guy. I don't know a lot about Sep, but I know you've spoken highly of him. But with Coach Augustine and West, I think that you know, those are two proven coaches who can come in and get the job done. We're hoping nothing but success from Mississippi State. You know how it is. You know, I mean, we live in a bandwagon society, Cordarius. Just the moment Mississippi State start off 10-0 and jump into the top 15, everybody be Mississippi State fans. But go ahead, Tricky. I know you right there in that backyard with all of them. So if you want to kind of talk about your thoughts on Mississippi State and the new coaches and that type of deal.
You know, to be honest with you, I really did not get to follow them the way I have in the past, you know, just because of kind of everything stemming back from COVID and things starting to get back into play. I haven't got back into that routine yet of really watching college basketball. So it's really kind of hard for me to say. I do feel like I haven't kind of heard the buzz around the program like I have in the past. You know, there was a real high standard obviously set from the previous coaches. I know I heard you guys saying something earlier about, you know, giving coaches an opportunity to come in and kind of make their stamp on the program. You know, I'm going to say I agree with y'all 100%. You know, you got to give coaches an opportunity to be able to put their print on the program and get things where they want them. So, but yeah, I really don't have a whole lot of input there, unfortunately.
All right.
Look, you know Johnny left Mississippi State, went to Texas, and now she's the coach at I think you know Johnny Tricky. She's coaching now. I think she got the Auburn job, head coach at Auburn. So I think she'll do a really good job there too. But go ahead, Evie. I just wanted to throw that out there. I know Coach Johnny. Coach Johnny is a really, really good person and a good coach, and she's been doing a D1 job. I'm excited to see her over there in the SEC.
Shout out to her. Definitely getting the job at Auburn. Go ahead, Eddie, and let's talk about Ole Miss. Ole Miss has our mentee, Chris Myers, and you know, as a matter of fact, Chris Myers and I think Shay Robinson got promoted.
Chris Ayers.
Yeah, Chris Ayers is now the recruiting coordinator, I think, and then Shay is the associate head coach. Shout out to them for their.
I didn't know it was a promotion. Honestly, I thought that Chris was already the recruiting coordinator. So who was the recruiting coordinator last year? Was it? I don't know. Was it Shay or Coach Green? Maybe the year before, but I know Coach Green left a couple of years ago. So I'm trying to figure out now. I honestly thought Chris was the recruiting coordinator, but shout out to him anyway.
Yeah. And Coach Yo did a phenomenal job, obviously getting them to the NIT championship in a must-win year for her. She had to win this year. People would have been calling for their, you know, we're not going to try to trick nobody. In our opinion, in my opinion, at least, she had to win this year. She got it done. They rewarded her with an extension. We love that. We're excited about that, and we're going to see how that they can continue to develop kids and keep a winning program at Ole Miss. Eddie, I know you watched them more than I did, so talk to us a little bit about that as we wrap up the women deal on, you know, colleges.
Yeah, I think they're probably top 5 recruiting coaching staff in the country, man. I don't know a lot about the Shea guy, but I know I know you speak highly of Shea, and that he was integral in bringing in that big prospect last year. So that that kid's a pro. So she was just a big part of a big piece of that puzzle. But I just think, man, they've done a great job. And what I like about them is they've balanced it with they're committed to recruiting in state, Tricky. So anybody who's doing that, I'm gonna show them love, because they are committed to. They brought in Snutter and Jacoria Bracey. They got 2 of the top 3 kids in state in the 2020 class. And then also just, obviously recruiting several kids in state, but then also going out and then and getting those big pieces too. So, Coach Yo got a lot of swag, man. I think she's relatable to those kids, and a lot of kids like her swag and her mojo and her confidence. I think that really seals the deal. With closing the deals on a lot of these kids. They really like that. She seems to be a very relatable person. And then Chris got the ties. He comes from AAU. He coached AAU in Florida, so he's got a lot of connections to a lot of the in-state and out-of-state AAU programs. And I'm gonna go ahead and play devil's advocate, man. You ain't got no relationship with no AAU coaching. You're trying to go around the barn and you're trying to go behind me and Cordarius back and go to the high school coaches and just think you're gonna have a lot of luck with high school coaches and trying to recruit kids. It ain't gonna happen. Because I promise you, at the end of the day, Cordarius and myself got as much influence on these kids as anybody when it comes to their decision making. Back to our regular schedule programming. But anyway, I think Ole Miss is headed in the right direction. EV, I think they can compete for that conference next year. I really think they can be right there and finish in the top echelon and be top 4 or 5 in that conference. I think they make it. I'm gonna go out on a limb. I think Coach Yo gets them into the NCAA tournament next year, and I think they'll do a great job. I predict early on, I think they can be a Sweet 16 team. They've got a lot of pieces coming back. They brought in some good pieces. So I'll let Cordarius kind of jump in on the Ole Miss piece, but I think that they are just right there and they're doing it the right way. And again, that's why I think patience come in, because you are right. I think this was a EV. I think you're right. This was a telltale year for Coach Yo and that staff. I think they had to get it done. I'm not saying they needed to win 70% of their games, but they definitely needed to be in that 500 mark, I think, and they were able to kind of be there and compete well, and had a lot of quality wins too, a couple of top 25 upsets too. So I think they're headed in the right direction. Cordarius, you want to jump in on Ole Miss piece before we get into the boards?
No, y'all keep rolling. Yeah, they did a good job. Like you said, everything Eddie said, I feel the same way. So yeah, we keep rolling.
Yeah, well, let's transition over to AU. I want to you guys.
I'm sorry, I had it on mute, but I wanted to ask a real quick question.
No, Tricky, it's too late. But anyway, want to transition? Go ahead, Tricky. What's your?
I just wanted to ask. So Eddie, I think you mentioned a little bit about the recruiting for Ole Miss. I think you were saying that they've been doing a pretty good job of getting some of the Mississippi bred ladies to come to school there. Am I correct with that?
Yeah, the last 2 years, Ole Miss has gotten the top 2 prospects in the 2019 class. They got Jayla Alexander, who was number 1 in the class, and they followed that up and was able to get the number 1 recruit, Jacoria Bracey. Both were 4-star athletes coming out of high school. So they've done a great job, in my opinion, getting the top kid the last 2 years. And I know they're recruiting, Booker Hard and Dupree Chapeau and some other kids in up and coming year.
Okay, so I prefaced with that question because I wanted to, ask you guys, do you guys feel like between those two, being the larger D1 programs in the state, that they're missing kids that could probably be helping the programs? Or do you feel like they're doing
in-state kids or
in-state kids? Absolutely.
Well, on the girls' side, Tamika Reed got them all. So, but yeah, I think
That's Jackson State, right?
she's getting. I mean, in my opinion, I had Kennedy Ransom, the number one prospect in the 2021 class, and Tamika Reed was able to get her this year. I do think that, I'll be honest with you, Tricky, I do think that, you know, they're getting those top kids, and they are recruiting those top kids. So I can't really say a whole lot about Ole Miss because they are making a conscious effort into trying to get the right in-state kids. I know Coach Augustine at Mississippi State hit me up immediately when she was boarding her plane headed from Arizona. That was a really, you know, that courtesy call meant a lot to me because it told me, hey, look, they get it. I need to be on the phone with Coach Young or somebody, whoever's in Mississippi. So I think that Mississippi State gets it. Of course, Jackson State get it. Again, you have to look at the teams who aren't doing well and aren't having in-state kids. Like, that's unacceptable to me, Trick. And I think that's kind of what you're getting to.
Right.
If you're not, because let me say this, I couldn't come down on Vic Schaefer when he was winning, when I felt like there's some kids Vic should have recruited in state because he was winning. But when you're not winning and you're not recruiting in-state kids, then that's going to give us an opportunity to kind of, to kind of go out there. And then, so I just think the relationships with the in-state, it's got to be strong. You know, we got on the boys and girls side, we got to have that stronghold on the in-state kids. And I know Coach Stoglen Reed and I have been missing each other for the past week at USM. I've called her several times. She's called me several times. So I think that the in-state schools on the girls' side get it. We'll talk about the boys here in a little bit, but I think they really understand, Tricky, hey, you got to have a relationship with the in-state because you got to work in-state out, in my opinion. And, you know, I'm biased Mississippi, there's no doubt about it. And so I definitely want to see our kids stay in-state because let's not get it twisted. When Mississippi State does well, Ole Miss does well, Corders do well, I do well, Jones do well, Gulf Coast do well. When it's a trickle down effect. I run a youth program, and I'll move on from this, and I'm done talking after this. But I run a youth program.
Go ahead.
I run a youth program, and EV's son plays in my league. So, but I've seen, Tricky, a huge amount of interest in girls basketball. And I think that attributes to the success that Mississippi State and some of the other Jackson State and some of the other teams have had over the past several years. So I think that that's very important that kids take interest when the in-state teams are doing well, especially I think it's more so on the girls' side maybe than boys' side because boys just go play ball. But I've seen that be very beneficial on the girls' side because in my registration, I have way more girls registered than ever before. So, but that is a great question. I know we'll talk about the boys a little bit in the support of. I know what you're getting at on the boys' side. I've heard it is not as strong recruiting our in-state players as it is on the girls' side.
Well, here's the thing: is we bring in Shoes. Shoes, come on in. You know, I know Shoes been hanging out. You know, hopefully he can get his video together. And we can see his just wonderful face. But I'll say this as we transition to the boys' game. On the girls, I believe that since I've been here, that the states, the high majors of which are Mississippi State and Ole Miss, are recruiting the in-state kids that deserve to be recruited for that level. I personally don't think in 2021 in this past class, I don't know if they had. We really had anybody in that 2021 class. Could they play at Mississippi and Mississippi State? Absolutely. Melanie Timms, could she play at Ole Miss? Absolutely, she could. I'm not going to say that young lady couldn't play anywhere, but I think she's at the right level for her talent. Ariana Hunter, can she play there? Yes. Could Taylor Woodhouse play at Ole Miss? Yes. But I think they all picked Taylor Woodhouse, who's going to Missouri State. I thought they picked the right level for them. They didn't have, I don't think we had in that 21 class a Madison Booker, who's a no-brainer. Close your eyes. Stevie Wonder can see. Ray Charles can see that they Division I. I don't think that there was that kid there. I don't think there was a Debrisha Poe, a 6'1", sweet shooting 3-man.
Can I jump in? Can I jump in?
No, you can't. So anyway, Shoes, we're waiting for you. Go ahead, Eddie.
No, go ahead, man. Go
No,
ahead.
go ahead. I know you're going.
No, that's a whole nother show. You just struck a nerve. But go ahead. That's a whole nother show.
No,
Go ahead, man.
No, I want you to go ahead and say something silly so I can go ahead and cut you down. We just waiting for Shoes to come in. If Shoes don't come in,
Now let's come on, Shoes. Let's pass it on. We talked enough about these girls tonight. What's up, Shoes? How you doing, man?
I'm here, guys. Y'all done went a long time tonight. I told Evie, just let the night be about the girls. I ain't trying to be on here at 11 o'clock.
I want to talk about real quick on the and just hit Mississippi State and Mississippi. Well, Jamie Brakefield transferred from Duke, and now they have Jamie Brakefield and Deshaun Ruffin, and arguably two of the
and Matthew Morrell, who was highly ranked last year.
Okay, and Matthew Morrell. All right. So now talk to us a little bit, Shoes, about the impact. I would have to say, no question, them getting Deshaun Ruffin, who's the number one player in the state. But you can argue Jamie Brakefield, who's from Mississippi, would have been the number one player in the state if he were here. So they arguably got two, what I would consider two number one players in the state this year. Talk to me. What's your thoughts?
I mean, they've done a great job of working to getting Brakefield was a big get for them. I mean, he's a talented player. He was a top 40 player in the nation last year. He definitely would have been the number one player. And I can't remember in my rankings, most of last year has the number one player. He only fell out of my rankings, Mississippi rankings, late in the year last year when some of the things that were going on during the latter part of the year. Getting those two, they're going to be big. They've got the transfer from Miami. Also, the big kid is a transfer from Miami. They've still got Jarkel Joyner and some of the other kids in there. They have the makings, the personnel to have a really, really good team, competitive team in the SEC next year. Like I said, Matthew Morrell, who is right there from Memphis, which is for them another local guy. Memphis, Ole Miss, Memphis is just as much a local guy as anybody in Mississippi. So, they've got some talent on campus. They've definitely got some talent on campus. And I definitely remember when Kermit was at Middle Tennessee and he got the kid that transferred from Arkansas over to Middle Tennessee, and he was the player of the year in the Sun Belt Conference. I can see Jamie having that same kind of impact and that same kind of role on this team next year, maybe.
Let me ask you this. Let me jump in real quick. Do you think, in my opinion, and we may disagree on this, I personally think that the question is he going to let Deshaun Ruffin be who Deshaun Ruffin is? Because there's some question that, there's been questions that Kermit, likes to play, move the ball, this, that, and the other. And not to say that Deshaun doesn't move the ball, but let's just face it, we know Deshaun is a yeah.
And he better before Shoes jump in. I know that Shoes side of the fence. He better let them play. And the way these kids are jumping and leaving, so he better let them play.
What's your thoughts, Shoes?
Well, I think it's going to have to be some give and take both ways.
Okay.
I think that Deshaun is going to have to become a little more acclimated at playing in some structure and playing in some structure. And out in a team in more of a ball movement, team oriented situation, and I think that Kermit is going to have to. I don't think it's going to be as big a deal for Kermit to figure out how to let him play. Kermit's been coaching a long time. He's had a lot of talent. He's seen a lot of players come and go through his system when he's at Middle Tennessee and other places. I know that I think that they definitely have plans for Deshaun to be an impact player. There's no doubt in my mind that they have plans for Deshaun to be an impact player. They need him to be, they want him to be, and they're going to find a way for him to be. But it's still going to be some give and take from Deshaun and from Kermit as far as finding the middle ground for him to be the impact player, be the big-time scorer, and still play with the team structure. You know, I think, you know, in high school, he had an opportunity to really just do him. And that, you know, because he was so hard to stop, he was so dominant, you know, you just let him do him. And at the college level, it's not gonna be as easy as just do him.
Right.
So he's gonna have to learn to pace himself, to find his spots, and to play off of others a little bit. And but I think that, like I say, I don't have any doubt that the Ole Miss plans on him being an impact player, and it's just going to be a matter of them finding the middle ground, some give and take both ways.
Hey, I don't want to jump in real quick, and I agree with Shoes 100% on how he described that. Now, Eddie mentioned about how these kids jump ship so quick, and you know, I think it makes a big difference when a kid's that talented, but can also compromise and be able to fit into a system as far as their overall success in their career. And so if he has that ability to be able to, you know, make that compromise and make it work where, you know, it shouldn't be I first, but it should be team first, and you're doing what you got to do to help your team win, then I think he's going to go far. But if he's one of those kids that can't make that adjustment on that level, he could have a bumpy road. You know, and I see that a lot with AAU ball, where guys just jump from team to team, and you see the talent, and you expect them to be able to have a great career, and it never comes to fruition because they can't sit still and be coached and learn to be able to fit into a coach's system.
Well, I agree with both of you. It's going to be some give and take there. It's going to be, they definitely have to be able to fit in. I'm excited to see it because it's going to be, you know, it's going to be very interesting. Now, you know, you talk about Mississippi. Ole Miss got some good players. Let's shoot over to Mississippi State. They got some good players too. Garrison Brooks, George Brooks finally got his son to come over. They're going to have a pretty good lineup next year. Who else did they get in, Shoes? They got somebody else, I thought, from Mississippi State.
They got DJ Jeffries from Memphis, who was on.
That's the name, DJ Jeffries.
And they've signed 3 really, really good high school kids. They've signed 3 really, really good high school kids. The big kid, Murphy from down in Alabama, the Aiden kid from Memphis, and then the Carter kid from New Orleans. They signed 3 really good high school kids along with those 2 transfers.
Oh, you know. Oh, okay. So let me ask you this: who would you say when you look at the transfers, when you look at all of that, who do you say got the better class, Shoes?
I'm gonna say that I kind of favor Mississippi. I don't know about class. Well, yeah. You know, Ole Miss has another couple kids. They got another high school guard from Tennessee that they've signed. Like I say, they've got a couple other transfers that we didn't talk about. The Timberlake kid from Memphis, and they've got another kid that transferred in also. It's really kind of a wash. It's really kind of a wash between the two as who's got the best class, man. They both have had a really good offseason up to this point.
Do you see them both as NCAA tournament teams?
They really could be. I think both of them could be NCAA tournament teams. I really do think both of them could be. Now that we know the SEC is tough, it's deep, you know, only the strong survive. So, you know, they both have got to put the pieces together. They both have got to figure out the chemistry and how to get them to work together get them on the same page. Everybody's always struggling with that at that level. But talent-wise, they both have the talent to make a push next year to be an NCAA tournament team. I think they really do. Especially if DJ Stewart, you know, I don't think he's going to end up staying in the draft. I expect him to come back out, but you never know. Now, if DJ Stewart stays in the draft, that puts State behind the 8 ball a little bit. But if he comes back out, of this draft and comes back, I think that puts State in a really good position to possibly make it. And then, you know, with Ole Miss, they've got they were right there this year. They've got a lot of guys back. They're really gonna have a new mix though of team of guys next year. But the talent they have, they have talent to get to put it together and make the NCAA tournament also.
Okay. Hey, EV, I want to ask you a question.
Mississippi State has a better season this year.
Hold on, Corey had a question.
I ain't trying to get off topic, but since we talking about DJ Jeffries, and you did say Memphis was kind of local, cause I'm a Memphis, University of Memphis fan as far as basketball. Why you think all them kids from a Mississippi perspective, why all them kids, get in the transfer portal like that?
All the kids from a Mississippi perspective, or just overall?
No, just an overall perspective. Just what's the word on the street? What's the word?
I mean, I guess, man, with a lot of kids, I truly think DJ's issues. I think DJ's issue was everybody that started this year is back next year. So if he wasn't starting this year, he wasn't going to start next year. And I think a lot of those guys are still like sophomores and juniors. So he might have been locked into his role that he had this year, and he wanted a bigger role. I think that might have been DJ's issue. He wanted to be a starter. He probably wanted to go somewhere he's going to get to start and shine, as opposed to being, coming off the bench and shine. He shined. I was at the semifinal game when they lost to Houston. He had a really good game. The night before that, he had a good game. I mean, he was playing a lot of minutes and playing well, but, it still ain't the same when you're coming out the bench. I think with him coming out the bench was a bit, with some of the other guys at Memphis, they just was loaded. And I just think a lot of them, they wanted to go where they could
Boogie Ellis
to get their shine, their minutes the way they wanted.
Hey, Corey, what you've been from Memphis real quick. We'll jump there a little bit. What did you hear? Because didn't Boogie Ellis start and Damon Ball?
Yeah. Well, Damon Ball had some back and forth from coming on the bench. I mean, they was highly touted. Especially Damon Ball, he had like a good preseason coming into his freshman year. They thought he might be like a guard that can break the seal and get in the draft at one point. But I just think that the expectation was too high. And a lot of them was feeling that pressure and that heat, and maybe some promises got broken. I don't know. Maybe they feel like they're getting recruited over. I don't know. Boogie deal. I don't know. That's a far away from being so far from home, being from what a West Coast kid. And being all the way in Memphis, they could have played a part too, So,
well,
I'm gonna say this. Y'all know I don't mind jumping out the top rope. I jumped out the top rope last week. I watched Memphis play. Huh?
Go ahead, jump off of it.
I think I know what you're about to say.
I watched Memphis play. What I came away with watching Memphis play was this. I told somebody this. I might have said this to you, EB. I said watching Memphis play was like watching a more talented Jackson State team play. They play hard, they defend, they play hard as heck. But offensively, you trying to figure out what the system is. You trying to figure out exactly what they doing offensively. Watching them is like watching Wayne Brent team. You ain't quite sure what they doing offensively. The structure ain't quite there. So
I think they try to do a lot of NBA stuff, but it just never work out.
I think that's part of it. But you got a lot of guys that's talented and they can't figure out their roles. They can't quite figure out how to play. I mean, with him is having so many talented players and then trying to get them, not really having a system to fit them into. I think to me that was the deal.
It goes back to what Eddie said earlier about kids jumping ship. Starting with AAU ball, if you're not happy where you at, you ain't getting the minutes you want, you ain't allowed to shine, you can go somewhere else. It's the same mentality now when they go into college. And then the thing about it is the higher level you go, the more talent it's going to be. There may be a situation where you go and you might have to be patient and earn that spot, learn that system, put in the work, and your time will come. But kids have no patience no more. If they don't get in, it goes their way right away.
And it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny to me about that because, kids always want to sign at the highest level.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, at the highest level, it's going to always be a lot of talent.
A lot of talent.
I don't know why more kids don't sign at a lower level and where they're going to be the man from the start.
Right.
I don't know why they see that. They all run to the program that's signing a lot of talent. Then, when they don't really get to be the man, they want to run out of there. Well, if you want to be the man, why you go over there with all that talent? Because that talent has to be meshed.
It's something to be said about being a small, a big fish in a small pond as opposed to a little fish in a big pond.
Yeah.
And I want
Just
to
a
tell
fish
some
in
of
a
the
big
kids, I mean, like especially in Memphis area, you know, a lot of them grow up in poverty and, you know, it's a hard situation. Sometimes it's good to just get away from home. Cause I think DJ had a chance. I think he would have shined at Kentucky. But I know his decision to stay home. You want to play for Memphis. You see him on TV. You see all the guys in your area go to that school. You Penn Hardaway there coaching AAU. It's big, but you know, sometimes, you know, spread your wings sometimes if it don't.
But the one thing I always say about signing at the high level schools, even if you end up having to transfer out, the thing you get that year or 2 years you're at that high level school as opposed to signing at a mid or lower level school, man, you get that weight room work, that training room. You know, they can do things with your body that they can't do at the mid-major level. And so when you do transfer back down, you're a beast. You're gonna be a beast because you had those 2 years of being like I'm gonna throw a kid out there, Javian Davis. We all see how his body changed when he went over to Alabama. He was Alabama. If he'd, I really think if he'd have taken when he left last year, if he'd have gone maybe Tulane or somewhere like that, he would have been a beast this year. You know, he transferred SEC to SEC, and he still kind of got caught in the numbers game and in the same situation, in a similar situation he was at Alabama. But if he'd have thought about it and gone maybe to Tulane, because I know they were on him really hard, or a couple from Southern Miss, somebody like that.
Jackson State wanted him. He should have came over to Jackson State.
He'd have been a beast. He'd have been a beast once he left the SEC after all that work they put in on him and come back down. He's a beast. Look at Jalen Forbes. He left Alabama. He went to Tulane. He is balling. When you leave those high majors and drop back, so it's something to be said for going on taking that high major scholarship at first. Because when you get that year, those 2 years in that program with the things they can do, the resources they have, you cannot substitute those resources for those resources they have when you go back down to the low major, mid-major, low major level.
Hey, Shoes, I had a question for you.
Okay.
Jamin Brakefield transferring, is he going to be eligible right away next year at Ole Miss?
Well, you know, I think I don't know. I think they're going to probably give another blanket waiver this year. I think everybody's expecting another blanket waiver this year, and even if they don't, he can put in for a waiver and say he wanted to come home. There's a very good likelihood he'll get it. But I think a lot of people are expecting it to be another blanket waiver this year like it was last year.
Yeah, they've already done that, Shoes. It's already been approved. The one-time transfer. So
well, I don't. Is that going to be in effect this year?
Yes.
Is that one-time transfer going to be in effect this year?
Yes, it is. He's going to be eligible.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think that's why you got 1,300 kids in the portal too, because a lot of the one-time transfers, if that's the case, EV, what you're saying is true, then that makes, you know, because kids don't want to transfer and sit out. Let's not get it twisted. But if they can transfer, especially in his situation, maybe this is a better situation for him, and then be able to play right away, then you definitely understand it. Because he's, like you said, Shoes, you kept him right because he was a Mississippi kid. And I actually like what you do for a lot of the kids that leave Mississippi that have had Mississippi ties. As you know, Brakefield was a Mississippi kid. You know, although you went off and did some other stuff, you still tied him into Mississippi. So having him back home, I
keep Mason in my rankings. Mason stays in my rankings right now. I don't take Mason out. You know, I've always kept those kids in my rankings pretty much when they leave. When they leave and go play at a prep school. You can go at a prep school, you still a Mississippi kid. You coming home, every time you got a break, you back here in Jackson. So that you still a Mississippi kid.
Well, I'm gonna say this. I think DJ Jeffrey got a chance. He gonna be an NBA player. I think Matthew Morrell at Ole Miss gonna be an NBA player. I think he got NBA game. And I just want to give them guys a shout out. I think he made a good move, DJ Jeffrey. Come back home. I think he got a chance to be an NBA player at some point.
I want to say this before EV go on. Shoes made the comment, and then I think Tricky jumped in on it. When you say, and I guess it works, each situation is different. When you say sometimes going to the Power 5 school or a bigger school that's loaded with talent isn't always the best decision when you can go to a school and be the man. were you referring shoes more or less to kids who maybe are mid-majors who got mid-major talent, or are you just talking about in general? Because like
I'm talking kind of in general, but I understand that the true high major level kids are going to go high major. But I'll throw a name out there like Jalen Forbes. He probably was a better fit as a mid major. But Alabama offered it. You got to take this scholarship when Alabama offered you. I didn't
think Jalen was a Power 5 kid when he got the Alabama offer. It was one of them things like you and EV say, would you like to I sign or whatever.
Yeah.
So when Alabama offered him, he should have taken that.
I'm gonna say this now. I'm not gonna say I didn't think he was a Power 5 kid. I think Jalen could have been a productive Power 5 player. He probably wouldn't have been a Power 5 star, but he could have been a Power 5 productive player at the program. He played his freshman. He played at Alabama. He wasn't bad at Alabama. If he stayed, now they had a new coach come in. That was the big deal with him. New coach came in, different system, didn't feel him. Let's get out. Let me go find somewhere else to play. If Avery stays there, he might have stayed and played more. I think he could have been a productive Power 5. Let me explain this. There's a difference in being a productive Power 5 player and being a star mid-major player. So a guy who can be a productive Power 5 player is probably a star mid-major player. So, it's 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. What kind of works for you? I don't think he was out of place at Alabama, but I think he's going to be more of a star level player at Tulane and somewhere like that. So, sometimes I wonder about guys jumping at that Power 5 scholarship when they could have gone somewhere else and been the man from the start or been a big player. So that's why I say it's a little bit about everybody. Because I do think Jalen was capable of being a very good Power 5 player. But he was a Power 5 program guy. He's what I call a program guy as opposed to a star.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with what Jalen done. Of course, I've been knowing the kid for years too, but I just think a lot of times as adults, we don't get it right. I mean, these are huge decisions, tricky that these kids are having to make it at 18. And, the recruiting business can be very dirty. In terms of these kids are being pulled from all different angles, being told and promised all different things. And I'm not saying that that's the case with Jalen. I'm just speaking in general. So, I mean, EV has had, even as adults, EV has had 100 jobs in the last 10 years. So, he's bouncing from all over the place. So when you think of, I just hate to see people beat up kids because, they've made a decision and they got to a situation. And maybe it wasn't the best situation for them for whatever reason. So
I mean, the way the system is set up now, Eddie. Hey man, keep looking till you find what works. Keep looking till you find the right spot. That's the way the system's set up now. We've got kids. We've got kids that's been going to their fourth school in their fourth year. But they're looking for that right situation. And then, like I always say, you can make money. You can make money from anywhere, but you can't make money on the bench.
So, I understand what you're saying, Eddie, but I do recall EV even saying something. I think the last show you guys had about being able to deal with adversity as well.
Yeah,
and that's the only downside of when you consistently jump from school to school, program to program.
When we talk about these 1,300 kids in the transfer portal, nobody's talking about how many of those kids were told they needed to transfer.
Absolutely. I'm in total agreement with that.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about that. Jalen Forbes, Javen Davis, both of those guys were pretty much told they weren't in the plans. You might want to go somewhere.
That's right. And so when you're looking for every of those two out of that 1,200, you might have 600 of those kids that was told that. I would almost say it was 50-50.
Yeah, I'll say that. It's almost 50-50.
I agree with both sides, and you're right. I know I've had some conversations with some kids that have told me the exact same thing, that they've been pretty much pushed out the door, which attributes to a lot of that too. But I think what Tricky is alluding to now is this generation of kids that we have. Let's be honest too now. I mean, I'm always going to side with the kids a lot, but let's be honest too. on a different landscape, we're dealing with a bunch of kids that they live in this microwave society and they're just not tough. They don't know what it's like to go through adversity. They don't know what it's like to not have things their way. So that's, some of that's going on too. I ain't gonna beat the kids up, but let's not get it twisted. There are some kids who are not mentally tough, who can't handle adversity, who are leaving because for the first, in high school, they played high school ball and everybody told them they were good. And so the high school coach, because his hands are tied, has let the kid pretty much get away with everything. Mm-hmm. Then they get to AAU. They're the best player on the AAU team. So the AAU coach is spending time with them. He at his home, taking them out to eat, taking them to the mall, buying them shoes. Then they get to college, and for the first time, they walk into Wayne Brent's office, and Wayne Brent is on them. I'm just using that as an example. And so sometimes kids get, and I know Wayne Brent is a tough mind. I'm just using, he's the first person that came to mind. But you get some of these old school type of coaches who coach with an old school style, and they in them, and that's the first time they've been in. Somebody's got on them, and a lot of times you'll see kids kind of shut down and not want that. But and I think what tricky is saying.
I say that all the time about our kids in Mississippi. I think 90%, 85, 75% of the kids in Mississippi, especially when you get outside of the metropolitan area, when you start talking about the rural towns, those kids have been the best player in the gym since they were in the 7th grade. I mean, every time they walk in the gym at their level, they getting picked up. They're on the court. They're on the court all day. The high school coach trying to win games, they just figuring out how to get the most out of the kid. Those kids don't face adversity till they get to college. When they the best player.
Let me say this, because I got to jump in, and because I want to make, and this is a whole nother show, because I'm going to spend the time and talk about this. I don't blame the kids hardly at all. I blame the adults in their life. They haven't faced adversity at home. These kids, more than any other kids in the history of children, are modeling what they see. We have spoiled adults. We have slow, soft, mentally challenged adults in their lives that don't deal with adversity. They're changing jobs. They're changing this. They're doing that. I believe that this generation of kids are modeling what they see.
I agree with you, Evie. I agree with you, but I still say that here in Mississippi, with us having been such a rural state, a lot of our kids just aren't prepared coming out of high school to face the adversity they're going to face in college.
I agree with that, but it's because, and we were going to talk about parents as we get ready, because we're right at 2 hours and we're getting ready to transition out of here. But here's what I say, and I still go back to the parents. Me and you were sitting up at a game ourselves, and at the end of the day, our parents are teaching kids they can do no wrong.
We saw that this weekend.
We saw it. That's just a foul call. Well, why? The kid said, what? And the ref gives them a tech. Why? He can't say what? No, he can't say what, because they shouldn't be saying what to you. And so at the end of the day, we have a lot of that because the parents are taking up for our children's.
I agree. I agree, Evie.
That's why you don't have. Nobody's. The thing is this: nobody's going through adversity, facing adversity. When we face adversity, everybody's in the blame game. And at the end of the day, our kids that, I agree with what you're saying to a certain degree. We do have softer kids than when we grew up. There's no doubt about that. But I blame social media. I blame society. I blame the adults. I blame the music that they listen to. All of that stuff contributes to these kids' mindset.
Yeah, it's definitely a culture.
This whole country is on this sensitivity kick. The insensitive kick. Ain't nobody got to be sensitive to you. I saw the day Brett Favre said. Brett Favre can say that. He don't have to be sensitive to nobody else. Why do we feel like everybody got to be sensitive to everybody else in this country? I mean, that's what we've gone in this country, where everybody now is talking about the insensitivity. He's insensitive. That don't do nothing to you. Insensitivity don't hurt you. You know, but now we've gotten to the point where everything in this country is about sensitivity and insensitivity. So I agree with you, Eddie. I mean, EV, it's what we're teaching the kids.
And exactly, and add to that, and I'm going to assume that we all come from kind of the same, similar generation. I was taught as a child by my parents, if you commit to something, ain't no quitting. You see it through. But that's not what's taught these days. And the kids are allowed to make decisions. They're allowed to commit, quit, and the parents don't teach them no different. So I agree with you, EV. It's a big part of it is adults letting the kids make decisions where the adults should probably be guiding them more in those decisions and teaching them more. But
I agree. I totally agree with that, and we see that happen so often, where kids are making decisions. Another thing too, we come from a generation. All of us are about the same age, except for EV. He ancient, man. But when adults, the adults' respect level has just dropped. Kids around people like when people were around the elderly folks like EV, like when kids were around elderly people like EV, 60 and 70 years old, they had a certain respect level for adults.
We were told, be seen, not heard.
Right.
Yeah, because guess what? We still did our dirt.
Be seen, not heard.
Yeah, we still did our dirt, but when adults were around, there was a certain level of respect that we had. And these kids have absolutely no respect. They curse, they use foul language. There's a lot of AAU guys who I mean, just be calling what it is, to run around and smoking dope with 17 to 18-year-old kids. And even though they've done a great job with their program, that's frowned upon. When you see all of that, there's just so those kids aren't going to respect you as an adult. So I just think the respect level has gone down. And then tricky to what you said too, you were kind of getting to a point before we cut you off, and it's very important that we hear this. When you're in 8th grade and you're at one school and you transfer in 9th grade, then you leave 9th grade and you're with a different coach at 10th grade, and you play with 3 or 4 different AAU three or four different AAU programs. You have to ask yourself: is it the coaches, is it the system, or is it you? That's the problem I have. Before they even get to college, they've played with 5 or 6 different AAU teams. Every weekend they with a different team. They've trained, and there's a couple of kids here in state, girls and boys, who have done that. And to me, I just think that that's not setting good examples, because you're right. I got 5 kids. When Caden signed his little butt up for karate and I pay that karate fee, he may not go back to karate next year, but he gonna finish that karate session. Right. My daughter signed up for dance. She go, if I've invested that money in dance. But so many kids, even in my league, Shoes, I know Shoes and EV are kind of attached to my league, man. I see so many kids after the first 2 or 3 games. I get Coach Young. He don't really like his team. And I think that's setting kids up. It's bigger than basketball, guys. I think when you don't have those standards, I think you're setting kids up for failure in life, because you're giving them the opportunity to say, if things ain't good, or because life ain't easy. Hell, I mean, hell is a bad place, not a bad word. Hey, I'm gonna say that. I said hell.
My saying is, life ain't fair. Mm-hmm. Life ain't fair. Ain't nothing about life fair. You ain't promised nothing. You ain't got nothing promised to you. You gotta make the most. You better take chicken and make chicken salad.
That's right. That's right.
Ain't nothing in life fair.
Well, let's get ready, because I can see us getting ready. We're going to have to take a time to do this. I want to take a show to talk about this. Let's get ready to get our last geeks. We'll start with you. Cordarius look like
Let me go, EV, because my phone about to die.
Okay, let's start with you, Shoes, the last geek.
All right. Well, first I want to say, I'm going to say a good luck to the teams that's going out this weekend. I know Mebo is going out to the circuit in Dallas, their first event. I know Tricky and the House. And I think Mississippi United are going up to Kentucky to play. Y'all going to Louisville to play this weekend. I say good luck to those guys. We've had a really good early season stretch of games and activity going on with AAU. We didn't get to talk about this, Mark, but EV, but it looks like we got a new number 1 after last week.
That's
Looks
right.
looks like OSAG is taking the #1 spot away from skill set elite. I got to give them a shout out. I was really tough on them a couple of weeks ago. I was really tough on them and on a couple of schools. You know, I didn't call nobody by name, but I was tough on some teams a couple of weeks ago. But you know, they did a good job this weekend. Good job this weekend. Picked up a few new players and we like I said, we got a new #1 in our AAU poll.
In our 17 and under.
17 on the AAU poll.
Probably got the house. Probably, I would say we would have to give them the edge in the 16 and under. I would think.
Yeah.
You know, because of
When you release that shoes? I ain't seen it yet.
Well, we never released it. We just talk about it.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, hey, you already got it. I got to go find that now. Let me see where my guys at.
Yeah, we ain't released no poll. We just kind of talk about it out over here. So we've given them, you know, we anointed skill set the #1 team a couple of weeks ago, and they had beaten Snack Pack, they had beaten OSAG, they had won the tournament. I will say that, you know, skill set has suffered a couple of personnel losses that probably really impacted their continuity. So
they probably lost a couple of players to Mebo too, didn't they?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They've lost a couple of players that really, I feel, impacted their continuity, but you know, it is what it is.
Right.
You either the man or you ain't the man. They ain't the man no more.
That's that person.
That's the AU. Let me ask you this, Tricky. Have you guys played, before we, continue to geek, have y'all played Mississippi United?
We have not, but we played OSAG and Snack Pack.
And how did you guys do against them?
We lost to OSAG by about 3.
Okay.
And we lost to Snack Pack by about 15. They beat us pretty good. We just played, we had a bad game. And then I think they got fired up and came back and they played much better against OSAG. And even with that event, we weren't full strength. We didn't have everybody, but they competed. So
yeah, I want to see you guys against Mississippi United. That would be a good matchup. Greg and
Tricky. I saw your roster for this weekend. Is the big kid? What's his name? That was at Moorville last year. That went to Tupelo this year. Is he going with you?
David is not going with us. I don't know who David's playing with. I actually did reach out to him about playing with us, but I never heard anything back. So I'm not sure who he's playing with this year. He may not be playing at all.
He was with you all last year. That's what I saw him. Yeah. And I just realized a few weeks ago that he was at Tupelo this year. Because I was looking at the Moorville stats trying to find him, and I never could find anything about Moorville. And then I was looking at the Tupelo roster. I say, dang, there his name go there. And I talked to Norwood, and he said, yeah, he came over and played at Tupelo this year. I did not realize he was at Tupelo this year.
Well, he was originally at Tupelo, and he went to Moorville. He came back. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he was originally at Tupelo with Braxton Bishop and that crew.
Yeah. I think if you could get him, he'd be a big asset for you. Give some size and everything. Absolutely. I liked him last year when I saw him.
He's definitely has improved tremendously over the last couple of years. He's really good around the basket. He's got a nice little mid-range shot. But yeah, like I said, I'm not sure what he's doing. I'm not sure who he's playing with.
Okay.
All right.
That's my last geek for tonight. And I'm probably going to go out in a minute, guys, because my phone's going to go out. So I'll probably just leave in a minute.
Okay. Tricky, go ahead and get your last geek of the night.
Same thing. I want to give a shout out to all the guys, all the teams that are going out of town on the road this weekend. I think also Team We It is going out of town somewhere too. I want to throw them in there. They're kind of our little mini rivals. But they got a good program there too. But it's good to see Mississippi going out and about and representing, because I think that's something that I've seen change over the last couple of years since I've been here. I would go to an event and I'd be the only Mississippi team there. Now I go to events and it's 5-6 teams. So I'm glad to see that from that standpoint, Mississippi's getting the kids out of the state to open up more opportunities for them.
All right, Corey.
Yeah, I just want to say, we want to get safe travels with everybody that's going out. For our program, we're going to Indianapolis, going to the Indy class, taking 2 24 teams. 23 team and 222 teams. Just trying to have a good showing. My team that I coach, we in a hard pool. We just trying to show face and get some chemistry going, just like the other teams. And Rucker, his team in a pretty good pool, and the 23 is in a pretty good pool. So we just trying to represent and get where we really got our real roster now. I got my team set the way I want it, and we just trying to build some continuity going forward and have a good summer. And I just want to say this too. The DC Bucks don't support no program that don't support us back. I just want to let folks know that. So when you're hitting parents up asking us why we're not in your event, hey, if you don't support our event, we probably ain't gonna support yours. So that's just how it is.
Let me ask you this, Corey. Who's in your event? I mean, who's in your pool in Indy?
We got we got the Indiana Elite Thunder, a Zample Sports Red, and some team called No Limits.
That's my boy, Example Sports. That's one of my kids. I'm one of my guys, Barry Bradford. He's
okay.
Everybody, your guy. I get so sick of that. That's my guy. Yeah, you hear me? That's my guy.
I have a wide stretch all over the country, and you don't understand. I'm one of Barry's mentors, and you just don't understand. So my hand reaches all over. Indiana's where I came from for 20 years. So Shoes understands it because Shoes has been out there on the circuit with me.
Let's pray. If you Barry mentor, let's pray for him. If you his mentor, let's pray for Barry. God bless Barry.
Barry's a great young person, and if Barry's there, Corey will talk to him, and Corey will come back on the show, and when he sees Barry and he talks about EV, Corey will come back and let you know. So your ball head, I'm sorry, I ain't gonna call you ball headed anymore. Anyway, I just want to know that.
EV, everybody on here ball headed.
I know it. But Eddie just has a different type of melon. He has a melon. So we got Tricky, you already said, okay, now Eddie, it's on you, the easy one.
Look, man, appreciate it. I think it was a really good show. Again, we're 2 hours in, and man, I'm just getting warmed up. I wish we could still go on, but I know we got to cut this thing short. Look, Tricky, appreciate you coming on, brother. And much love to you guys. We pray for traveling grace that you go out there and represent as well. Cordaris, I'm sure you guys gonna hold it down for Mississippi, man. Go out there and do your thing this weekend, fellas. We'll be staying back. I'll be in your area, Tricky. I'll be doing some local stuff. We've kind of downscaled a little bit now since the college coaches are coming out in July. Nothing against the live streams and some of the things that are going on with live streams, but we're going to scale back a little bit, and then we're going to make our mark in July. So we're going to put a lot of emphasis on July and really, really go out guns a-blazing. So, but I'll be in Columbus hosting the Mississippi Play Sports Spring Shootout. A lot of local teams will get a chance to play some ball this weekend. My groups will be playing, several of my groups will be playing in Torres got a local tournament. So we go support them and play in that tournament this weekend and try to get some work in there. And that's it, man. I think it was a great show. We covered a lot. I'm gonna play devil's advocate. My last geek before I pass it on to the ugly one. I mean, Eric Vaughn, EVZ, is I've said this once before, man. As college coaches, they're the worst at this. Can y'all please stop calling your head coach bosses? I just hate that word. I get so sick of Twitter. You see these college assistant coaches saying my boss and look at my boss for that birthday and my boss. And, I just makes me sick to my stomach. I would say a better term would be my coworker or the head coach.
My leader.
Yeah, my leader or the head coach. I mean, quit going out of your way to call somebody your boss. Back to our regular schedule programming. That's my last geek of the night. I love you guys, man. Look forward to a very successful year. Tricky, did you want to say something about what I was just saying about that? Or
I was just going to ask, did you set that up over at Columbus with Coach Morris?
I set it up with Coach Hairston, the girls coach.
The girls coach, okay.
Yeah,
I don't know if I've told you guys, but I'll be joining the Columbus staff over there coming up in August, and I'll be head middle school coach over there, and I'll be assisting with the men's basketball program. So I'm excited about that opportunity, and I figured since you mentioned it, I'd go ahead and put that out there on here today.
Man, congratulations, man. Appreciate you. That's big time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
Well, I want to say shout out to all of you going out in Mississippi from the house team we it, Mississippi United, Starkville Swish, Mebo, OSAG. I know OSAG is going down to Atlanta. I know that 2024 is. I don't know what their senior team is. All of the girls teams from Mississippi, from the Bobcats, DC Bucks, MTP, Lady Gladiators, whomever, the Mississippi Hustlers boys and girls team. Just a shout out to all of you, Northeast Bobcats, Northwest Bobcats, Southeast, all of them, Community Save, you just name it. If I missed you, I apologize. BGA, all y'all, just, a shout out to all the kids who play in other programs, Madison Booker, Ray Mapiggy, Debrisha Poe, Kennedy Davis, all of those who are also India Bowen. Eddie, if I missed anybody, Eddie, help me out. The girl from the Hartfield on the 2024 team in the Alabama.
Kanai Hooten. Yeah.
Just all of you, I hope you guys have a great weekend coming. I want to leave you with a scripture. And this is for our kids and even our adults. And this is, and I'll expand on this one day. Y'all come to my sermon, my message, y'all can hear me speak about it. 1 Corinthians 13:11. When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. And I think that we need to, when we talk about the adversity and all these different things, we have to understand when we became a man and became a woman, you put away childish things. So when you start talking about our children, and we got to stop acting so childish, especially those of us who are men and women who are adults, who our children look up to, they are going to imitate and emulate what we do. So it's very important that we put away childish things. And so for Shoes, for Cordarius, for Tricky, for Eddie Young, I'm Coach EV, aka EV the Geeker, saying good night, and I lay